We are live.
From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Brew.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here comes a candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Brew Factory Podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew?
Here we are, brink of a crisis again in America. Out of aluminum cans.
Hey, I got change. I'm good.
We're going to have to deal with that. I guess it's because the beer companies, the beer that was supposed to go into kegs, they've now diverted into cans because the cans aren't open. So now they're running out of aluminum cans. Whatever. Sometimes I hear that stuff and I'm just like, oh, okay, let's synthesize this crisis, or maybe it's true. I don't know. I don't drink beer, so.
Well, what container would you like to drink alcohol out of now?
Well, there's either glass or plastic. And nothing is more sensual than beer over plastic.
Does anybody even make a plastic beer bottle, or does Bud Light do that or something?
Baseball games and stuff, so you can't throw the glass
Oh.
out on the field and kill the players.
Yeah, I've seen like Miller Lights that are in plastic bottles.
Yeah. I mean, it's all terrible, like American beer that you never drink. Because, you're not just an alcoholic.
Or good old Hawkeye vodka. Comes in
yeah.
a plastic bottle.
Yeah, you get the real top shelf liquors that come, they call it the light traveler. So you can just get on a Greyhound bus and drink it all the way to wherever you're going without worrying about shattering a bottle.
Well, I knew they did like hard spirits where there's like, the tiny bottles or the smaller bottles in plastic, but I didn't know if beer was like really affected taste-wise by the container, I guess.
I don't know. I mean, all the beers I drink, the times I do drink beer, they're all hard to pronounce names and they all come in glass bottles. So I don't.
And how many people in America are drinking beer for taste?
Alcohol. If you're drinking American beer, it's just because you're an alcoholic. That's all that's available. One of the two.
I want bread and a buzz.
Yep.
Here's my all-in-one.
I mean, about as low as I'll go is like Heineken. Like, it's like, hey, what do you got to drink? Oh, we got Coors Light. Well, I'll just have water then. Oh, wait, we got Heineken. I was like, well, I guess that's an okay port in this storm. I don't drink a lot of beer because it never really. I don't know.
No, I hate beer. It just doesn't taste good at all, no matter what kind it is. So, yeah, I guess technically true. I always kind of figured nobody drinks it for the taste, but some people, it's like it's a wine aficionado where it's like, don't you taste this note in it? And it's like, no, I taste piss water, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I mean, there's enough people like they drink enough. They know like I'd rather. It's not about quantity. It's like I'd rather drink this than anything else. So some people are snobbish in that way, but when you get down to it, it's just like, what's the most alcohol I can consume for the cheapest price?
Hawkeye vodka.
Some beer does pair well with food, and I'll do that. But I like the real bitter beers with food because they seem to complement each other. And like some people, like they just, you got to try this new IPA. It's like, no, it's like drinking beer with dirt in it or something. It's like there's something off there. I don't get this thing you're doing. Oh, it's a new microbrew from Ann Arbor. You got to try it. No, let's not do that.
We talk about drinking, so let's now talk about driving. I got an F1 update.
All right.
So I learned something interesting about F1 cars. So during races, you'll hear this this kind of frantic call out. It's like, it's gone into anti-stall. I can't do anything.
All right.
And I'm like, what's anti-stall? And it's exactly what you think it is. It keeps the engine from stalling. So it just floods the engine. But also, like, weird things will trigger an anti-stall when it's not really, the problem's not really like that the car is stalling. It's another problem. It's anyways. So that's a call out. And it's like, I always wondered, it's like, why is that a problem? And it's because F1 cars don't have onboard starters.
Oh, okay. They're doing that to save weight?
Yes.
Okay.
So they have like this, like industrial leaf blower handheld starter with like a transmission line on it, and they just zip the car and to start it up, and then that's it. Like the car, if the car stalls, you can't start it up again.
Can't send those guys out on the track with that tool.
No. And this is actually pretty common because like it's the same way in IndyCar. They have like this long pole that they turn the car on with. So yeah, I mean there was like they did have at one point like there was no reverse gears in F1 cars. It's like, well, why put it in? Because it's extra weight. But now it's required for safety reasons. So.
Oh, okay.
No.
I would actually still be surprised to hear that they had reverse gears.
Well, F1's it's like it is. Because it used to be so dangerous, it's been a real commitment to safety over the past 30 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I remember when they're killing all their drivers on a regularly scheduled basis.
yeah. Yeah, it was like the most dangerous job in the world. It's like, hey, there's 30 drivers and 2 of you are going to be dead this year.
Look at the man standing next to you. He might not be here.
Yeah, and there's only been one death in the past 30 years, and it was like basically a fluke.
Okay.
Because I think there was bad weather.
In the last 30 years?
Huh?
There's only been one?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Okay.
Well, an F2 driver died last year, but that's F2, so it's technically not F1.
Yeah.
What's the difference between F2 and F1?
It's like a feeder league. It's sort of like the minor leagues.
Oh, okay.
So it used to be called F2000, and then there was F3, but now it's just F1, F2, F3. And so the further you get down, the sort of the minor, more minor league structure. And they don't use the same cars. They use cheaper, less faster cars.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, there was a guy like, I guess there was like weather on the track, and one guy went off the track and hit a wall. He was fine. He gets out of the car, and then they have this little like tractor thing that goes out and picks up the car to take it off the track.
Okay.
And another car was driving behind him. He slips off the same spot and like hits into the back of that tractor. And basically like how the tractor sits off the ground, basically his head went right into the back of the tractor.
Jesus, okay.
And he was in a coma for like almost a year and eventually died. So, but yeah,
Jeez.
that was the last death in F1. That happened like 3 years ago.
All right. I didn't know that.
Sarah. Yeah, it doesn't. So they had the third race this year or this last week in Hungary at the Hungaroring.
I remember you telling me about that.
And so it's kind of, it was an interesting race, but it also the bellwether seems to be like this is going to be a boring season because Mercedes is proving to be no one's gonna catch them.
Dominating the field.
Yeah, I mean they've done that for the past 6 years, but it was kind of hopeful in the first race because like the Red Bulls were like pushing them around. It's like, hey, it's going to be even this year, but now we've 3 races in. Now it is just 3 races, but still, what we've seen so far, the top 3 teams, and there was only 3 teams that won races last year. Out of those top 3 teams, Mercedes is the only one that's actually gotten faster from last year. The other 2 have regressed.
Okay.
Now, yeah, so Ferrari has regressed pretty significantly. Red Bull, just a little bit, but their car is still worse than last year's car, which is not a good thing. So yeah, it pretty much looks like the Mercedes is going to run away with it. So there's a couple of laps before the race start. There's like practice laps, and then there's like a formation lap. And on this practice lap, and it had rained the night before, so the track was kind of wet. and everybody was on intermediates, which is sort of, so you have wet tires, which kind of look like ATV tires, where it's like, you know, got the big blocky like blocks with like a bunch of spaces in between. So there's places to divert the water.
Yeah.
And then you have intermediates, which aren't that severe. There's kind of they just kind of have grooves in the tire that whisk the water away. Because all the soft, hard, and medium tires, they don't have grooves at all.
Yeah.
So if they hit water, they just slide the fuck off the track. It just turns into ice skates.
They're just solid rubber tires.
Yeah. And so during one of these parade laps or whatever, Max Verstappen like just starts sliding off the track and hits the wall before the race even starts.
Well, that's not good.
Rips off his front wing and like fucks up his left tire and like probably the tie rods or whatever. And then he's like gets on the radio and is like, should I go into the pits? They're like, no, go to the starting grid. And so they have like half an hour and they repair his car on the starting grid.
Nice.
They finish with like 25 seconds to go. And they said that the what they did, the repair job normally takes like on a normal without pressure takes an hour and a half to do, and they did it in half an hour.
Wow. That's just everything falling into place.
And what's even great, so he starts in 7th place because the Red Bulls sucked during qualifying.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weird things. The cars have been pretty different between qualifying and the race because there's different setups. You set up your car different for qualifying and for the race. And sometimes there's like a wide difference where it's like this car was great in qualifying and now it sucks in the race, and which is what's happening with Williams, because Williams actually did a pretty good job qualifying for Williams. Like they got in the top 15. They're usually like 19 and 20 every day. But then when they get to the race, like the car is different. It's not the same as it was in qualifying. Because during qualifying, like there's less fuel in the car and stuff like that, so it just handles different. So Max Verstappen gets his car repaired on the grid, starts in 7th place, and finishes the race in 2nd place.
It's a pretty amazing comeback considering he like destroyed his front suspension and ripped parts off of the car.
Yeah, there's a lot of like little tie rods that go to connect that tire, and apparently he broke all the ones that aren't as necessary, because there's a couple things like they're talking about the wishbone thing. Like if he would have fucked up the wishbone suspension thing, like it would have been done. The car would have been, he wouldn't even started the race. But he broke all the
stabilizing mounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he broke all the right things. So yeah, that was pretty amazing. It's like, and there was a funny radio call because Lewis Hamilton just gets out front and like he's immediately winning. Like in the first lap, he's already 6 seconds in front of the entire field, which is fucking crazy. Like I know you have to watch F1 to really appreciate like how much a second is. Like 6 seconds is an eternity to be if somebody's 6 seconds in front of you.
Well, yeah, because they would have to stop almost
Yeah.
to catch that.
And then like he gets a radio call where he's like, Max Verstappen is 9 seconds behind, and then Lewis Hamilton gets on the radio and is like, I thought he was out of the race. It's like they fixed it on the grid. Which is kind of funny.
Yeah, that is.
And the other crazy thing is Haas got a point.
Really?
Yeah, 1 point.
He's got a point.
So they were starting. So like I said, the track had rained, so the track was wet. But like the F2 series had run a race before they started their race, so it was actually kind of so the cars racing over the track dried the track. So there is a dry racing line on the track. It's still a little bit wet, but there is a dry line on the track.
Okay.
So, and like Haas had qualified in like back in like 15th and 16th place or something like that. So they're in the back of the grid. And like as they're doing the formation lap, they're like they get a call on the radio and they're like box, and then like Magnussen's like box for slicks, and that's like the regular tires. You got wet, intermediates, and slicks, and then the slicks you got soft, medium, and hard.
Okay.
So so instead of going to the grid for the start, they start in the pit lane and they get off of intermediate tires and get on medium slick tires.
All right.
And they're gambling that the track is going to dry when everything gets when the race starts to settle in. And then at some point, so they actually start in the pit lane. They don't start from the grid. But because there started to be a dry line, everyone started to pit, and they ended up in like 3rd and 4th place.
Oh, okay.
And so it was a great gamble. Now, there's no way they were going to hold 3rd and 4th place, but like it's like halfway through the race, because everyone else was on their 1st or 2nd pit stop, they still hadn't done 1 pit stop. So that's how they were able to like get into the points at all. Now, eventually everyone passes them. Like Grosjean gets like hit and he's all the way in the back, but Magnussen ends up finishing the race in 9th place, which is amazing for Haas because they really suck this year.
Yeah.
But because they did that radio call to pull them into the pits, they then got a 10-second penalty. Because for some reason during the formation lap, there's some rule that like they can't be aided whatsoever by the pit.
Okay.
So that was weird. So they end up losing 1 place, so he ends up finishing in 10th place. So he gets 1 point instead of 2. But hey, that's probably the only point they're gonna get this year. So. It's still 1 more than Williams, which is still the only team with 0 points. Now, I hope they get a point. Like they seem so hopeful this year that they just like if they just stay in a race, crazy shit happens. Man, could they just get 1 point? Just 1 point.
It's like the Lions, just 1 playoff game, just 1. Just 1.
But yeah, so I don't know. There's some interesting midfield stuff with Ferrari being way worse than last year. Like they're kind of like they're still doing like they're in the midfield and they're doing well against the midfield, but like they're pretty much nowhere near Red Bull or Mercedes. And at this point, Racing Point is like far beyond them. But we'll see. They're at Silverstone next week. They've had a week off this week, and they're going to be doing 2 weeks in a row in Silverstone.
Where's Silverstone?
That's in London.
London, okay.
It's a racetrack that used to be. But you remember in like World War II, they build those airfields where it's like the triangle of takeoff.
Oh yeah.
So they like made a racetrack out of that of the airfield.
Oh yeah, I'll use it.
So yeah, I'm betting that Lewis Hamilton is probably going to win both those races because last year he almost comically beat the shit out of everyone last year, and he's from Great Britain, so it's like a home race for him.
Oh,
So he like really loves the track, and but like last year, there's something where like he drove. Like there's kind of the tires have sort of a vague limit of what they can do. So like I think he was on the medium or the hard tires or something, and like there's kind of a like this tire has like a 30 lap limit, and he went like way over that. He went like 40 laps, and so it was like 10 laps beyond the rated limit of the tire. And then on the last lap, he got the fastest lap of the race.
damn.
With shit tires.
Probably just down to the core at that point.
Yeah. Well, the Pirelli builds the tires like specifically in a way that's kind of vague, because you can there's like a cliff that the tires have where like 1 lap you could do like the best lap you ever done in the race, and the next lap you could just be all over the place. You're just sliding all over the place. There's kind of just a weird cliff, and it's hard to determine because it's tire. These tires are wearing in very specific ways at such high speed that you just can't like track it. There's no way to live track it.
Yeah, there's no like tire life indicator.
They do have that for the audience, but it's all bullshit.
It's just like the NASCAR stuff. It's like, oh, his engine's, it's glowing red. It's really hot, and then drives 20 more laps. It's like, well, couldn't be that hot.
Oh yeah, it's funny because it looks like Haas is probably going to be getting out of F1.
Oh, okay.
So that's a bummer, but it's just rumor right now. But it kind of seems obvious. And like I was watching some NASCAR replay, and their rookie driver for the Haas team at NASCAR won a race.
Yeah.
So, so hey, let's put our chips behind a winner.
Yeah, Haas is the only American F1 team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And they're mainly known for American motorsports here. Like, don't they have a drag racing and
Yeah.
something else here? Yeah.
well, I mean, Haas in general is known for CNC machines, but
Oh well, I mean
yeah, but they're like extracurricular stuff. Yeah, they're known for they're champions in NASCAR and other fields, like in the Camping World Truck Series or whatever it's called now.
super trucks.
It's interesting because like you figure that because Haas makes CNC machines that they would like probably be good at building cars, but they don't actually build their car for F1.
Oh, they just farm that out.
Yeah. So there's an Italian parts maker that they make sort of the off the shelf parts for F1 because some of the F1 parts on a car you can just like you don't have to make them yourself, you can just like buy them off the shelf. And so this company that makes those off the shelf parts, they make Haas's car.
Oh, okay.
And because there's a lot of like brilliant stuff to how Haas got into it, where most of their cars just off the shelf, so they've got into it really inexpensively.
Yeah.
But also, like, but the money you have to put behind it to actually win is not what they're willing to put into it. So, but that I don't know if they hang around for a while, like maybe because in 2022. They're gonna have a complete car change,
Oh, okay.
and they're gonna have like spending caps on the team,
Oh, okay.
which is why Mercedes is looking to get out of F1 because if they can't just like spin their way to win, then like they don't want to be there.
I was gonna say, how long will that last?
Oh, we'll see. But like they're gonna limit it to about I think like $250 million a team.
Okay.
Which I looked at 2018 numbers because that's the only numbers I could get. Ferrari spent the most at $450 million for the year. Mercedes was next at $400 million. Then it was Red Bull at $300 million, and then it was McLaren at $250 million. And then, like, every team below that was at least $150 million.
Oh.
So that's kind of how much it costs to run an F1 team.
That should be interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of cars, did you see the new Ford Mach-E 1400?
A truck?
No, it's the Mach-E. It's the electric. They call it the Mustang, but it's a four-door. It's their electric car.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Yeah, they made a supercar electric car. The reason it's called the 1400 is that's how much horsepower it produces. And they had every special Mustang. I mean, it was a company shot, so it was a commercial. But they had like the Ring Brothers, super powerful Mustang, the kind of the lowrider one. And then they had the Drift Mustang, and then they had the NASCAR Mustang, and everything these cars could do, this electric car, because this electric car could drift.
Huh.
It could drive super fast in a straight. But it was weird because they had the loud, these huge V8 engines in these cars, and the Mach-E just made this really incredibly loud buzzing sound. But it was like all those cars could do all that stuff, but this car could do all those things. They could drift, because I'm assuming it has drive motors at all four wheels. So
Yeah.
it was doing all this crazy stuff.
So it just switches modes and becomes a completely different car.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's mode on you press this Mustang.
Did they have to do a tire change, or just did it all with the tires had?
From the video, it looks like it because there's just nothing but smoke popping out while he's doing a
Yeah,
complete
I'm
360 over
film
again.
commercial, so I'm assuming
Oh,
that they did a lot of changes to
Okay.
the car. They show the one interior shot where you press the little Mustang pony and it says unbridled mode. It
Yeah.
nails the guy to the seat. It's like it's so much fucking power. It's not a big car either. It's it's not huge.
I mean, I would say I really hate the high pitched whine over the sound of just like an engine gunning it, but at the same time,
It's kind of weird. It's kind of that might have even been enhanced for the commercial just to show the difference.
oh, okay.
It might not be that loud, and but those are.
Yeah, because it's going through like everything between the NASCAR comparison, drifting comparison, and everything. Yeah, so it's a nice, concise commercial.
Yeah, I know. I've actually seen that Ring Brothers Mustang in action. And
Oh,
that
okay.
car is incredibly impressive. It's a very powerful.
Who are the Ring brothers?
They're guys that do custom. I don't know. I mean, I know I've been on Jay Leno's Garage a few times. They do
Okay.
like super customs. It's like, hey, you want a 2,000 horsepower lowrider Mustang for guys, and you want a car where the lever, how you shift it, is just a giant lever you grab because this engine's producing so much power. But yeah, I've actually seen that one in person, and it's like, oh my god, the car starts and the whole body's just because it's got so much fucking power underneath it. And, but yeah, those are.
I always remember the video of when they were making the new Cobra, and they took its engine and like had a mock car. It was just a normal Mustang, and they threw it in the Mustang.
Yeah.
And like whenever it had so much torque in it, the front end would twist when it was,
Yeah.
was
Oh, yeah.
driving because it wasn't built to handle the engine.
It had the strut reinforcements across the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just twist the unibody of the car. Yep, that's a Mustang. I've driven in one of those. Those Shelby GT500s. Those are no joke. Jesus, they sell these to people. I mean, it's.
Oh, look at
I've been in a Tesla before, and I couldn't believe they sell those to people. I was just because the guy put it in the crazy mode, and I laid my head back immediately against the seat, and I'm like, yeah, go ahead and do it, dude, because it'll snap your bot. I mean, you could actually hurt your neck if you weren't ready. And then the Shelby Cobras are the same way. It's like this thing is so fucking powerful. And then you can hear like it's got the wicked like whine from under the hood. It's got this giant supercharger under there. It's like whee! Going over 100 miles an hour. You're not even in third gear yet. It's like god damn.
It's been kind of interesting in F1 too, because they haven't been driving for so long. Like there's been like a 7-month layoff.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of like G-force injuries on the drivers.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because like one guy,
Guys like do full on workouts. Like
Yeah.
they lift weights and run, and because they're just to get the shit beat out of them in those cars.
well, like Lando Norris, I think because he like gained a little weight, or actually like muscle, not necessarily gained weight, and so like the car seat is fitted to you in F1, and he kind of like had outfit his racing seat, and so he got like really bad, like a bad back injury during one of the races, and like had to be like the next day had to be like airlifted to a hospital.
Yeah, it's
Well, I'm not sure he got airlifted to a hospital, or just like somebody had a helicopter and like we're going to the hospital because
Yeah,
it's F1 and they're rich people.
probably a combination of both.
And then Perez from Racing Point, he has a neck injury, which that's got to be fun.
Yeah, racing those cars always easy on the neck.
Now they do have like a lot of devices, they literally like they can like look like that, like 30 degrees left or right. Like they're really locked into those cars, but it's still like that's a ton of fucking G forces.
It's a lot of G forces. And some of these new like supercars, like they've the suspensions and stuff are rated for like 6G, and just it's like that car can like the Dodge Demon, I think it has a heavy duty chassis under it. So when you're banking around corners and stuff, it doesn't just rip itself apart. It's like that car, yeah, I guess like that much horsepower it can do that. But those just I know a few guys that have stuff like that. They're always bitching about not getting overtime. It's like, yeah, it's guys. Of course, you get those, and it's like I'm gonna put the new spindles on it so the superchargers even. It's like, well, it's already got 900 horsepower, dude. What are you? You're trying to take flight? Where are you going?
The other car news I heard is that the Honda Civic, or I think it's not going to be a coupe anymore. Or it's not. It's only going to be a coupe. They're not going to offer the sedan version anymore.
Yeah, they're all dying. All the cars are done. The Camry is, for the first time in a long time, they're thinking about making that into some kind of SUV,
Yeah.
like a station wagon type. Like the Honda played around with that a while back. But yeah, the sedan cars are pretty much, unless you're getting an Audi or a Mercedes, they're not gonna exist much longer. Which I think, though, I don't know how long that'll last.
Until there's money flying around and people want sedans again.
Yeah. I never really got the whole truckster thing. I had a truck once and I enjoyed it, but it's like, I just can't see driving a truck all the time. Or at least I can't. Let me rephrase that. I can't see putting gas in a truck all the time. When you get used to those, when you're used to you're filling up your car for $25 a week, and that suddenly goes to 80. Like, that's a big bite. Just extrapolate that out over a month, and it's like, no.
My grocery getter that cost me $10 to drive to the store.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like some of the cars I've had got great mileage, but especially with the old Fusions, you strap a turbo on that and all-wheel drive. It's like, it's not getting good mileage, but it's not. I don't know. The way I drove that one I had, it was almost truck mileage, but that was because of the way I was driving. It's like, watch how this pulls through the turn, Stacy. It's like, oh, would you please? Like, no,
Sorry, I've just been watching the Bronco reveal trailer from Kelly Blue Book because I didn't get a chance to catch that last week.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who the fuck wants the 3-cylinder Bronco Sport. It shows you're going camping and shit, but I wouldn't say you're doing anything as much as what it looks like the regular Bronco would do. I'm surprised by the base price point on it because I thought it was going to be way more fucking expensive than $29,000 for the 2-door.
Yeah, I was going to say, start optioning that up, and yeah, it gets pretty. I mean, you get the twin turbo 6-cylinder version. That thing's pretty salty.
Well, yeah, because in the 6-cylinder, that looks like the passenger has a literally bolted on hand grip in the middle of the fucking vehicle.
Yeah,
Which is
produce 360 horsepower and like 470 foot-pounds of torque or something. It's something crazy.
Yeah, I was just watching it.
Big vehicles either. They're not huge.
The weird thing I like about it is the hood of the car.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Because it's just a flat table. And what I really like about that is, like, if you look at like a Jeep or something like that, there's like all these little like, detents or whatever, and it's like you could like go to set something on the hood of your car and it'll fall down that thing. Like this, it's all flat space. You can set whatever the fuck you want on it.
You can put felt on it and play billiards.
Well, I just like everything about the car looks pretty. I like the design of it. I like the look of it. The general, like, the interior looks really good. The fact that you can pretty much remove everything except the windshield looks fucking cool too. I don't know if I'd ever do that in Iowa or anywhere necessarily, but I mean, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. We'll see how they do. I mean, I consider that like a niche thing, but maybe they'll catch on. I don't know.
Well, just because it was comparing to the Land Rover Defender and then the Jeep Rubicon. I mean, both of those have a lot of the same features and about the same capacity, power weight ratio, and just usability for like water clearance and ground clearance, at least compared to the video what I was talking about. So, I mean, I could see them doing pretty decent with it, especially with the price point, because Jeep definitely is just as expensive, and I don't know how the Jeep Rubicon does anymore, if it has as many maintenance issues as the rest of the Jeep range does. But hopefully Ford's got its shit together and it won't be a pile of crap on release, I guess.
Well, they've only been talking about it for 10 years. So
Oh, I didn't know it was that long.
oh yeah, they've been talking about a Bronco forever.
Hmm.
But Bronco, we don't even have a Ranger. Then the Ranger came back and everyone got hopeful. It's like, oh, we're gonna have a Bronco now. Yeah, you got one, but it's not. There's not a lot of Ranger components in it, so it's made at the same plant the Ranger is. It's my old plant. So
Oh, okay.
we'll see how that goes.
I'm getting guess the sport's probably not going to be made in America since it's slightly lower retail, or is that going to be made in America too?
As far as I know, they're all going to be made here.
Oh, okay.
Got to remember, at some of these American plants in particular, in a 10-hour shift, they can crank out 720 vehicles if they have a good night.
Oh, okay.
A lot of cars in one shift. I mean, it's a 10-hour shift, but yeah, they can. They've got a lot of. I can't believe the truck plant does that sometimes. The F-150 plant crank out these huge numbers. It's like wow, and then they're working overtime. It's like, oh, we didn't make enough. It's like, oh, okay, keep buying them. Whoever's buying them, just put up. That's one of 2 plants. They used to make the F-150 at 6 plants. They're 2. So they've got us in Kansas City.
So what do they make of the Mexico plant now? Just the smaller cars?
Which one?
Well, it used to be a Fusion, but
Well, I mean, whatever their main coupe hatchback car is now, it's Focus or whatever the fuck they're calling it.
Fiesta.
Maybe I thought they were switching to like just a car for like
Yeah,
their sedan.
The Fiesta's made in Mexico.
Okay.
Because there's 2 big plants down there. There's Cuauhtémoc and Hermosillo. Most of the stuff that gets imported to America and Canada is from Hermosillo. Yeah, I don't know what they're making down there. They don't make. They make a lot of engines down there now. Like they make, like for the big heavy duty F-Series trucks, the 350s and above and the 250s. A lot of the engines come from Mexico because they're having a problem now. They're running out of engines because the coronavirus is so bad in Mexico. They're having to shut down the Kentucky plant because they're not getting any engines. It's like, why are you getting an engine from Mexico in a $70,000 truck? Like, what? Couldn't do that here? Okay, I guess.
Not with the danger we're putting the people through.
Well, they make the engines here for the 150s.
Oh.
They make those at Cleveland Engine. I think the quantity on the 150s is a lot higher though. Those work trucks, I just don't. Some of those are getting close to $100,000 with the option. The big heavy, like if you see a guy with a diesel, like with the 4 doors, and it's the big heavy duty one with the dually tires. If he's optioned that out with like at a King Ranch package or something, it's almost $100,000. And that's the first time an American car has come close to $100,000 in the history of American cars, unless it's like one-off exotics or something. But I mean, production vehicles, one after another.
Guy was just like, a boat was too expensive, so I got the King Ranch 250.
I mean, as long as you put a bed in the back, I mean, shit, it could be your house for $100,000. I mean, so
Well, if you can afford a truck for $100,000, you already have a house in multiple places.
Yeah, if you're getting a King Ranch, like you can get a truck with the diesel engine and with all the work. If you just need something that pulls, but you don't option it up, it's a $50,000 truck. But when you're putting like the leather in it, that's like saddle leather, it's like an $8,000 upcharge, and you've got the computer that tracks like all the tools that are in it'll like tell you where the tools are in your truck and all that. It's like, I don't really think you're doing a lot of serious work with that truck. You're just having fun. But yeah, those some of those they get up there.
Oh, I know. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I know I've only like bought one new car, but like I can't really imagine spending more than like $35,000 on a car. To be honest,
Either I don't.
kind of have a hard time thinking about spending $35,000 on a car. To be honest, so it's I don't know. I was even looking up like used like models of my car, basically like the same model year and everything, and it's like, oh, I can get a decent mileage one for like $15,000 now. And it's only like 3-year-old car, so it's like, oh, okay. not very, not a lot of incentive to buy new if you can get like a lowish mile, decently used one, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never haven't looked at used cars in a while, but now that my son's starting college this fall, I probably, in the future. Used car. That is really
Well, because now they're not going to make have they stopped making the Fusion now, or is this the last year now?
They still show up. That's how I got one this year, because the guy called
Oh,
me when my
fair.
kid was up, and he was like, "What are you looking at?" And I said, "Do you have any Fusions?" He's like, "We still get some showing up on the trucks, but if you want one, you better get in here because we're not going to have them. Because this Fusion I got is not one of the fancy turbo models or whatever. It's just a regular 2-wheel drive with a one liter engine, 1.5 liter. I don't know, something like that." It's great mileage, and it's got the co-pilot drive, which is nice, but it doesn't have the power that the other ones do. I don't know what it's going to be like in winter because it's got smallish tires, but I have enough seniority vacation now where if it's a bunch of snow on the ground, I'll just call them up and be like, "I'm not coming in today. I'll take a vacation day, thank you, because I'm not going to die on the way to work." Because you won't appreciate it even if I do. So.
No, did anybody see the meme that was popular for the last couple of days where it was like, oh, 2019, 6 inches of snow on the ground, school's canceled. 2020, you could all die, go back to school. so,
If I had small children and they were telling, and I lived in a state where they were saying you're going back to school, I'd be like, "Fuck you." No way. I mean, we're up to 1,500 deaths a day now. We're like worse than it was when we were all sitting in our house and waiting for this to go away. It's like worse now.
Yeah.
Way worse. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we're not. Because around here, like the big city, like Ann Arbor and a few other, they said, yeah, we're not starting school. We're doing it online. Come pick up your Chromebook.
I mean, I thought that was a smart play for everybody, to be honest, but I was pretty dead set about making people go back to school even if they don't feel safe. So,
Yeah, don't you have that S&M queen as your governor?
oh, Reynolds, yeah.
Doesn't she look like isn't she a sadist or something? Or she looks
Well,
like,
it's the Republican hairdo for women. It's there. Joni Ernst has it. Kim Reynolds has it. I can't tell them apart half the time.
oh,
Or
it's
two.
like the ladies of the purge haircut.
Yeah,
Okay.
just it's like the windswept upcut hair that looks like it's sandy gray, but it still has color because they're young and youthful, but also don't believe in anybody's rights.
Yep.
So, because there was a school here in Cedar Rapids that the KCRG put on like a video of their or like the school board getting together, the teachers and everybody talking it out about what their plan was. Because they said, because this is like supposedly one of the shittier high schools in Cedar Rapids, Cedar Rapids, Washington, where it's the poorest and the richest kids going to school in the same high school district in Cedar Rapids. So they're like, oh, anybody that doesn't feel comfortable can totally do online classes and resources, and anybody that feels comfortable can come back to school, and that's how we're going to approach it. But Reynolds' plan is that, nope, everybody's going back to school. We don't give a shit if you feel safe or not, and no online learning resources, none of that shit, unless you don't want funding. So, wonderful compassion.
Like, okay, we don't want funding.
Well, I mean, Iowa is supposedly known for like, hey, everybody's so nice here, everybody. It's a familiar state, and nobody, goes out of their way to be assholes to people. But not really. So,
Yeah, I've heard the same stuff about Michigan, and I'm like, where? Where does this happen? And not where I live. You get the old ladies at the supermarket. Fuck you, you bastard! Like, what did I do?
You had the audacity to exist.
You look like my son that stole from me. It's like, oh, I'm not your son. Have anything to steal?
well,
That's the other F1 news. F1 is not coming to either America. North or south.
Uh-oh.
because everybody's doing such a shit show job in the Americas that they're not going to come here and risk their drivers.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing a shit show everywhere. Did you hear about Japan?
Well, I heard that their economy is going to shrink for the first time in like 30 years or something like
Cases
that.
of coronavirus are going way up too.
Oh,
Them in Australia, and where else is it? India, Australia, Japan, and there's one other country it's like they're getting close to percentages of American infection rates. They just announced it today. Like every day, it's just more bad news.
Well, I figure Japan at least, because that culture, like almost everybody halfway wears a mask during any time of the year anyway.
Well, I mean,
So
they only had like 4,000 cases, like so far. So maybe like they got a spike and an extra 100 cases, and it looks awful. But I don't know. But they were handling it well. But
Well, the thing is, we don't know what this is. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, they're still acting like this is some kind of flu, and like I was listening to this one guy was saying, it's like, yeah, this might be worse than that. We might be approaching this the wrong way. But it's like, okay, what's the right way then? Well, we don't know. Okay.
Well,
because everything will change next week. So.
Well, I mean, I know even in America, even if you go state by state, you can't really travel. And internationally, nobody wants Americans, especially like third world African countries right now are saying okay. But other than that, like America is not welcome anywhere. They can't travel anywhere without being quarantined or not just being in general anywhere. So why doesn't everybody just adopt that for every fucking country? No travel anywhere, fucking quarantine people and be smart about it because that would be the correct
that's more of a that's not really a thing that they need to do. That's just a fuck you to Trump. That is.
I like that. There was
I'm okay with the fuck yous to Trump, but it's.
They've been using the Captain Phillips meme, where like he, like I'm the captain now, that bit.
Yeah.
And they have that static picture, and the subtitles is "You're the shithole country now."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I have seen pretty good digs against Trump this week, but he already gets made fun of like at least 20 times a day, so it's not exactly a new thing.
So this podcast, these guys that do, they're talking about the election, and they said, well, the last big election, not accounting, it's like it's getting to the point where it's like he's so far behind, even in swing states, there's no way he can win. But we're not going to say that. because of what happened with Hillary. But then the guy was like, yeah, what about Hillary? Everyone said she was going to win and she was going to lose, and then she lost, and they're like, yeah, but Hillary was never ahead like Biden is, especially in all these odd states. Like it's almost a dead heat in Texas. Now that'll change as it gets closer to the election, but that's never happened. Where it's like people are just so sick of they're like even thinking about it. But some of this could be anger that will quickly fade when it's time to make that decision.
Yeah.
I mean, how much do you think is just people tired of Trump or just people willing for change? Because I know Biden has put out some policy stuff from like Bernie Sanders cooperating with him for like new energy policies and infrastructure stuff. Not that anybody really cares, but
I don't. But yeah, no, I don't know why. It's just everyone's sick of Trump, and I think they're tired of the shit show. And I think the coronavirus stuff has really pissed a lot of people off. Everyone's done with it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if it's just people sick of Trump or if it's people sick of the Republican Party. That'll be it.
That's the thing. Like these guys were saying, like when they were looking at the Senate races and stuff, they're like, now some of those are contested, but not a lot of them. Because the big upset's going to be the presidency. It's not going to be like. Because people are like whispering, "Will the Democrats get the Senate?" And these guys are like, "No, not unless they're just revealed to be just a massive pedophile ring of Republican senators." I mean, there probably is, but it's not going to be revealed.
Well, the Republicans have made. Well, it's not really changes. Like they've had some of their delegates change because what do you call that? Primaries, like for the GOP. Like some of those have changed. So they've like basically kicked out their own people for a different person that's more electable in current times.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably got rid of the guys that were like active members of the Ku Klux Klan. That doesn't really fly right now, but those guys will be waiting in the wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. But yeah, they say it's like, well, it could be a blowout for Biden, but then these guys are like, but yeah, don't bet on that. Everyone go out and vote just the same. Because these guys used to pretend to be neutral, and then now they're like, yeah, we got to get rid of Trump.
Well, there's a lot of conspiracy theories too about like make sure if you do a mail-in ballot, you do it a week or two in advance. That way, because now like they're Trump supposedly instituted something where if the mail-in ballot isn't postmarked by the day of the election, then basically they can't count it. And so his postmaster general is going to sit on a bunch of ballots to basically make him win or whatever by doing that. And it's like, okay, probably, but I don't know.
Accidentally erased the military vote. Good job.
So I mean, I don't know how early you're allowed to mail in your ballots. I figured it was like a month or two before you could do it, but I don't know.
I don't know. That's pretty much how we're gonna have to vote here. They've already said that the polling places are gonna be very. How was it? They're gonna be very. They're not gonna have as many of them, and they're not gonna. They're only gonna let a certain number of people in. And as I called my congresswoman, her office, and I wanted to make sure because they pushed us to sign for mail-in voting, and so I did. But I said, now are all my local issue things going to be on here too? Because I don't want to vote, just get a mail-in ballot and it's just for the national election and have them increase my property taxes 50% or something. And like, no, all your local stuff's going to, whatever district you're in, if there's local county, township level stuff, that'll be on there too. So we'll see if that happens. Because you always gotta watch that. They'll try to. They had like 5 millages on the last thing we voted on. It's like, oh my god, really want to make my property taxes more than my house payment?
I saw.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Well, baseball's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw. I'm not sure who's. I think it's in Boston that they're doing this. They'll probably do it other places, but you can essentially buy a seat for the season and send a cardboard cutout of yourself to put in the stands.
That's funny.
And if the ball hits it, they mail you the ball.
Yeah, it's working with what you got. It's like, yeah, sounds weird, and it is, but this is what we got.
So I'm trying to figure out because I was watching replays today because I've kind of been in a mood to watch baseball, but obviously nothing's happened until yesterday. But the cardboard cutout.
Is it just preseason, or did they just start the season?
No, it's just starting the season because it's like 60 games. I think everybody gets at this point, and then the season's over, so they're just cramming games in.
When is baseball supposed to start?
In early April.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, that's the regular season. If you're talking about spring training, it's like February.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, it's been delayed for quite some time.
Okay. I don't pay attention to baseball, so didn't realize that stuff.
Yeah, they cut like 100 games from the season. So
I was going to say 60 games a team. That's like a vacation. It's like a quarter season for those guys.
Yeah. God damn it. Who's just signed like a huge fucking deal yesterday for a baseball contract? Because it was like another 12-year contract for somebody for the Yankees.
Oh,
and it was like,
okay.
And it was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Not because it's like you're paying him like $12 million for this year, even though it's 60 games. It's like that guy's making $500,000 a game.
I'd like to thank my agent and God for making this possible.
Well, there was a little bit of a scandal during the draft because some teams were trying to get an extra year of control on players before their free agency and stuff like that because you only get like 3 or 4 years of control if they get signed anywhere else. So they signed in even because they thought at the time maybe the season might not happen. So they signed the contract saying like this year they were just going to play for this team but not play for the team. So basically they get an extra year of control for free and pay them just a little bit more money, and people are pissed about that. I guess I don't know. It's just. I mean, if you're paying somebody $12 million like signing bonus for a first round draft pick, I'd be like, okay, fine, you can control what I do for another year. Give me my $12 million. So I don't know. I don't think the minor leagues are going on though because they said they laid off like a shit ton of people for the minor leagues. Like they fired a lot of people. So I don't know how they plan on doing that because I guess they expanded their roster for the major leagues. So I was just reading something today, like my team and I watched the Reds, like, oh, we dropped a guy, Davidson, because he tested positive for coronavirus. He's on the DL for coronavirus. And then so he picked up 2 more people on the 30-man roster. It's like, oh, okay.
Now, are they doing that thing where they just have like 3 baseball fields in Arizona where they play all the games?
That was supposed to be the plan, but right now I was looking at clips and it looks like Citi Field, and I swear that's in Atlanta.
Oh. Or did they just have select stadiums? Or are they actually is people traveling to the other team's ballpark?
It didn't look like it because all the clips I watched from different home runs and like grabs and shit, like a lot of it was the same stadium but different teams.
Yeah.
So it looks like maybe they have like one or two stadiums in each region and everybody's playing there. Because the City Field's in New York,
Okay.
so that had because that wasn't a clip that I was just pulled up because I was like, oh okay, maybe there's other stuff because I couldn't tell. But that's also okay. That is the Mets, so maybe they are playing at their own stadiums. Because I talked to somebody today because we talked about the Fauci scandal now.
What's
Because-
the scandal?
Well, okay, so he threw out the opening day pitch for the Nationals. He missed so bad that I don't know how you could possibly do that. The joke was that he didn't want anybody to catch it.
This guy doesn't want anybody to catch anything.
But he wore a mask to the mound, so fine. He probably came in contact with people out to go out there, fine. But then they captured him in the stands a couple times, like talking to people with his mask down. Like basically, he had two friends with him. They were sitting right next to each other, and he would take his mask down and talk to him face to face, or he would like take a drink or eat something and take the mask down. And people are really like pissed because it's like you're supposed to be the fucking face of this goddamn thing. You're not even following proper procedure. So I don't know. I don't know what the story is behind that. If he lives with those people,
I
or
mean,
something.
weren't they like tested beforehand?
I would think so because that's
Okay.
that's Major League policy. Everybody's tested for every game.
Okay, so there's at least that. I mean, technically, if you got tested and you're good, he wouldn't have to wear the mask at all.
Yeah, because there are only three people in the stands. That's
Yeah.
the way. There's nobody else. So it's not like you're going to contaminate like 60,000 people or something that way. So yeah, I don't get what the hell the outrage was for technically, but at the same time, he is kind of the role model for like supposedly how to do things. So that's not a good sign. But
well, it's not like he's. I mean, it's somewhat hypocritical, but it's not like he's going out there and changing his mind. He's still like fighting Trump. It's like, no.
let's go to a box score. Maybe it says where it was at because I was just trying to figure out, get a feel because it seems like everybody's just playing in their stadiums now that I look at it closely.
And then
Are they
NHL.
paying people that work at the stadiums out of any funds, or are those people just screwed, like the concessions people that used to work there and stuff?
Well, I know they covered like what NHL and NFL are doing. I never heard if MLB, every team was covering their concession workers because it sounded like basically they all got laid off or fired. So I haven't heard anything if they like had a fund set up because NHL made a big wave with that because in March every team except for like one team, I think it was on the East Coast, set up funds for it. So they were just paying their workers their regular salary instead of having them go on unemployment if they're not working. So, but Kamala was going to say that NHL has a new team now.
Yeah.
Right?
The Seattle Kraken.
I didn't know the name. I just knew they had a team.
Yeah. So I don't think they're going to be in because they're having some like weird playoff like the same way the basketball is. So.
Are they going to do the same draft lottery that the Las Vegas team had?
No, they're going to alter it a bit because that was fucking awesome. Because I think I've told you, in case you forgot, Nathan. So when the Las Vegas Golden Knights came into being, they drafted their team from all the other teams in the NHL.
Okay.
And what teams could do is they could mark two players that were undraftable. So the Golden Knights basically got the best third player from every team in the NHL, and they went to the Stanley Cup and like lost in a Game 7 in their first year of existence.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think they're altering a bit for the Krakens because they're going to do the same thing, but I don't think they're going to be able to like do the same thing that the Golden Knights did. But we'll see. That was fucking fun as shit though.
Well, the uniforms look kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a really cool symbol and everything. Yeah, it looks neat.
I mean, I'd definitely be on board to pull a Kevin Smith and just buy a hockey jersey and wear that. Well, because I already want to with like a couple teams because I used to really like hockey and I haven't watched a game for quite a while. So
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to buy a Winnipeg Jets jersey because I just like the fact that they finally put another team in Canada. But other than that, like, yeah, pretty. I like it. I mean, I don't know. Are they slated to start on time if they have a new season next year, or are they?
I believe so, but like I don't think they're going to do this. I don't think they're not doing anything with this current season, but they should be there next season.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it'd just be interesting to. I always kind of maybe at some point maybe I'll just pick up a because supposedly all the EA hockey games are still really good, right? Or have you played one for a while?
I haven't played him for a while, but there's a podcast. Like, there's always a guy who chimes in every time. He's a big hockey fan. He chimes in. They're playable, but they're kind of missing a little because it used to be like the there used to be a little something extra that they did with the NHL games, where like they're just they don't have the support that the Madden games do, but they there's a lot of love behind them, and they've been kind of like a bit lackluster compared to kind of like the early tens games,
Yeah.
but as far as I know, they still play fine. But there's just kind of it's like one of those things where it's like you get a new console cycle and they just like make a new game and it's like just completely stripped of all the cool features and they just slowly put them back in.
Yeah, because I used to play the shit out of hockey games when I was on the Super NES and stuff like that, but obviously not the same type of feel anymore. There's no overhead, perspective anymore, I don't think.
I mean, you can set the camera up that way, but it's just kind of weird.
But no, maybe at some point I'll get back into it. But I'm really into baseball, but I hardly watch that either, so it's not really. I don't really get to watch a lot of sports anymore.
Yeah.
Let's see, what is it too? The Washington Redskins will now be known as the Washington Football Team.
Effective until they can decide on a name, because I guess the sponsors have to decide.
I think they should just go with that.
Yeah. Well, there is a soccer team. I can't remember which one it was. Like, it's just called like Williamsburg FC, and then FC just stands for football club. Like they don't have a team name or mascot. It's just the city.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that should be the football team.
I didn't even look at the possible names. Is there anything that like stands out as something that's cool? So like they're like a Washington Sentinels or something like that, or is
No,
it
they should just take the whatever team they set up for the XFL. They should just take that name. I think it was like the Washington Defenders or something like that.
The Minutemen.
that was going to be my second pitch, but I didn't know if they were trying to be patriotic or just trying to still take the Native American theme without calling them Redskins.
No, I think they're done with the themes like that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think they're going to go back to that.
What's the baseball team? The Washington Capitals,
Yeah, Washington Nationals.
and then was it the Wizards as their basketball team? And it
Yep.
used to be the Bullets.
Yep. I still like the Bullets better, actually. The Wizards are okay, I guess. But
Did they just change that for political reasons because there's too many gun deaths in Washington?
maybe.
I totally forget why they changed it in the first place.
I mean, I don't think I didn't. I guess I didn't even remember that until you mentioned it because I still have Washington Bullet basketball card somewhere in my house. So, but I don't really remember. Besides the Charlotte franchise, like getting renamed a couple times, and New Orleans too. Like I can't really think of another NBA team that got renamed. To be honest,
Wait, what's Charlotte now?
Charlotte Hornets used to be Bobcats.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
did the Hornets move to somewhere?
New Orleans, and New Orleans is the Pelicans now.
Is there a Hornet team?
Yeah, it should be Charlotte.
Oh, okay. So is there still a Bobcat team?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
Actually, they might have moved. Here, let me take a quick look. See.
Basketball used to
Because
be my favorite sport, and I don't even know the teams that exist in it anymore.
Okay, so we got the Atlanta. Oh, God damn it! Yeah. Every time I go with my ad blocker to a site, it's like disable your ad blocker. It's like fuck you.
No.
All right, so God damn it! Quit popping up shit. Even though I have ad blocker on. So there's still the Washington Wizards, the Utah Jazz, Toronto Raptors, San Antonio Spurs, Sacramento Kings, Portland Trailblazers, Orlando Magic. I don't see a Bobcats team anymore. I think I got renamed. Yeah, I got renamed to Charlotte Hornets. There's no Bobcats anymore.
Okay.
The Denver Nuggets actually have a decent logo again, it looks like. It's like a miner's pick with like a fountain in between and a basketball in the middle. That's kind of cool / weird.
Mining for basketballs.
And then probably my favorite logo ever, the Milwaukee Bucks, just because I don't know. It's kind of a weird, majestic kind of logo. I don't know why. The New Orleans Pelicans is just weird. Is there even Pelicans in New Orleans? I assume there is.
Yeah, it's like a water bird.
Okay. I didn't know if it was like specific to one coast or not, or if it was just everywhere in the United States. And then you got the LA Clippers, which should be like a haircut team because they should have like a shave. I don't know what the Clippers is actually supposed to be, and I've never known.
A ship.
Chip.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense instead of haircut. Sacramento Kings kind of went like retro again. It looks like they kind of have like the old school, but also like it's like also a mountain range with a basketball underneath it. Like apparently that's a big theme now. Yeah, I kind of wonder if like Utah. Okay, even the Utah Jazz went back to like a retro-ish thing. It's like the music note again, but the basketball is the little cylinder thing on the end of the music note.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't even know anybody in basketball anymore besides LeBron James.
LeBron James. Yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know anybody anymore. So maybe at some point I'll have to pick up one of those NBA 2K games and be bored as shit, but also learn players' names.
Yeah, I said it on podcasts before. Like the Pacers used to be my all-time favorite team, and like I used to know like in the late '90s I used to know like their deep bench, like a guy like like a third string small forward. Like I knew that guy, and I don't even know their star player today.
It looks like some of these guys, like one of these. There's this guy called TJ Leaf I'm looking at right now. He has like a weird mustache. Looks like somebody put a dollar store mustache on him to make him look more manly.
I know Zion Williamson. That's because he has a cool name.
Yeah, he sounds like a character from the Matrix.
He's not on this roster anymore. It looks like.
Well, who do you play for?
I don't know.
I just know the name. I don't know who he plays for.
So I was looking at the Indiana Pacers roster because I was looking at their logo and it hasn't changed in like I don't know how many years. It's still the same roster. It says Zion who? Sorry.
Zion Williamson. Or just put Zion basketball and it'll come up with it. I know his name's Zion.
Well, if I can stop hitting cap lock instead of that. Best Zion Williamson. Page not found, so apparently NBA.com doesn't want you to know who Zion Williamson is. But it looks like he played for the Pelicans because it's Pelicans versus the Timberwolves, and he's wearing a red jersey. That was, this year. So, okay, he plays for the Pelicans.
Huh.
I don't know if it's the same guy or not. I imagine that name's not common.
Yeah, he plays for the Pelicans. So.
Okay. Yeah, he's a cool crop top.
Well, we watched a movie this week on Netflix.
Did you guys watch it subbed or dubbed?
Dubbed.
Dubbed.
Yeah, that's how it came, and then I turned it off immediately because I don't like dubbing on live action stuff because it makes everyone seem stupid. But anyways,
We watched The Lost Bullet, a 2020 French action thriller film, or as I called it, The French and the Furious.
actually, it has weird commonality with the original Mad Max.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, where he makes the
Where they're making these supercars and they're kind of chase down the extra bad guys.
yeah.
It doesn't have the weird looming threat of apocalypse on it though. So
No.
You can go with the French title of Ballet Perdu. It makes it sound a little bit more pretentious, I guess.
Yeah, it was a good movie. I liked it.
yeah, this was a cool action movie. So
They definitely put their heart into it. It was fun to see those cars. I mean, I don't think this movie probably wasn't made for a lot of money.
well, it's French, so maybe they got a bunch of money from the government.
Yeah, well, I just know
well, and Netflix. It's a Netflix movie, so
the cars they were using those were like 20-year-old cars.
yeah.
Even the police cars were those
Were those like fusions that they made those super police cars out of?
No, those were the Belgian-made Ford Mondeo.
Oh, okay.
And what would make those special is they had there were one of those few cars in Europe at that time that had the option for the V6 engine, which that's a big engine for a car that small. And because the only thing you usually get in V8 over there is like the Mercedes, some of the BMWs.
Yeah.
So that would have, those were kind of like Tauruses with fusion front ends. There was sort of a weird hybrid style, but I know those were made in Ghent, Belgium, and I don't know why I know that. I just remember that. But Yeah, the Mondeo is kind of is what we call a fusion here.
A lot of Renaults, and I don't know too much about Renault cars, so I'm sure this was like great for somebody. This is like a fantasy. This is like a car fantasy for like a European car aficionado. But like, I didn't necessarily connect with all the cars, but I thought they were cool looking at least.
Well, the Renault that got that he modified with the road hooks on it with the big cow catcher on the front. That's called a Renault 2.1 Turbo from the late '80s. Those were actually sold here.
Huh.
Too. They weren't sold. There weren't very many of them, but they did sell them. And those cars were known for being pretty light for as much power as their engine produced. So that was because it was like a 2-liter with a big turbocharger on it. And those were, and they also some of those had all-wheel drive too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of like a nostalgia car over there. 'Cause I don't even know. Yeah, some of those European car companies, except for like Mercedes, like I think they've all consolidated with Chrysler in some way or another.
Yeah.
So I don't know who does what, because I know Citroen's still its own thing.
Yeah.
You see those in Canada a lot. They don't make it down here. But yeah, that's all the cars in this movie are pretty. They're kind of well known. Like you can recognize them.
Yeah, it starts off with like they're driving some like shit Renault or whatever, just some really small car, and the guy takes out the engine out of the front and like just reinforces it and puts a Lamborghini engine in the back seat of the car.
Yeah.
And he has like all these piping to like pipe out all the exhaust. Although the engine like sounds very silent for how big it seems. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the robbery technique where you drive completely through the jewelry store at 100 miles an hour, and then your car stalls and you get arrested. It seemed kind of like a silly thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this guy's smart enough to figure out how to, hook up a computer that basically overlocks the injection system into the car, but
Yeah, you can weld and do electrical engineering, but
yeah.
he can't hold down a job or pay for anything.
Yeah, I'm like basically like a top tier auto mechanic that any racing team would like, but I can't figure out how to. Yeah, I can't keep my shit together long enough, or plan a robbery. You think if you were that smart? It was just a story.
Yeah, well, it puts him in jail, and then like this one cop who, what the fuck do it's like a drug enforcement like wing of whatever the cops are, and like they're trying to chase down these drug dealers, but the drug dealers have these special what do they call them, go fasts or something like that.
That's the English translation. I'm sure there's a French word that sounds cool and doesn't sound as ridiculous. But, English that gets translated into go fast.
Because that's what they put in the subtitles. So it's like I don't.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this guy, he looked at, for some reason, came across this case about this prisoner who like built this car that could drive through walls super fast and all that stuff, and he basically gets hired as a mechanic to build this drug enforcement team. It's like supercars to stop the drug dealers.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm sorry, I was doing research while you guys were talking about that. Renault has been the top selling car brand in France for quite some time. 2016 to 2018, it sold over 400,000 cars every year between those 3 years. And the next best one was Peugeot, Citroën, and then Volkswagen. But Volkswagen being the main one everybody knows, that only sold the tops 143,000 cars in France in those 3 years. So it outsells Peugeot's the next one. It's in the mid 300,000s.
Those are Peugeots.
Oh, Peugeot, sorry.
That's okay.
That's fine.
But otherwise, I mean, it's the best performing car, and then like this year, like it had the best performing car in the first quarter by a landslide too. So it seems like they're really popular, and
or some kind of French pride about it. I don't know.
Well, I guess France outproduced automobiles over America until 1907, when America started outproducing France for automobiles for some reason. Because I guess France was the go-to place before that to go get a car.
Let's see, who is Renault? What is the Renault group? Okay. So Renault is Renault Nissan.
Huh. Would not have guessed that.
That's who they're partnered with. And who else do they make? Yeah,
Is it that one group that owns that Indian car company, or is that a different one?
Tata.
Yeah. Oh, Tata Motors. Yeah.
Yeah. They're the 9th biggest automaker in the world. Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi.
Well, I didn't know Mitsubishi still made cars.
Well, they make trucks,
Oh, okay.
like delivery type vehicles. And then Renault has a Samsung Motors division in South Korea where they're sold under the Samsung name, but they're Renault cars.
Yeah.
We're getting down a rabbit hole of like who's the what multinational conglomerate owns
Just
this?
makes it sound like basically Ford might sell a car in Mexico as a Trump car. Just like Trump would put his name on it and just call it good.
Oh. You know where the 3rd largest place Fords are manufactured in the world
Where?
is? Singapore.
Huh.
Yeah, because you got North America, Europe, and then Singapore is like where they make, but they don't ever come to this market. They go to India and all over that. So
Yeah,
I was surprised to hear that.
I remember when Australia used to have their own Ford division. They made like weird versions of Ford cars.
Yeah.
They basically made a Ford El Camino that was only in Australia.
Falcon X.
Yeah.
The Falcon TB Ranch Wagon.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Also, like in Australia, like the Falcon was the cooler than the Mustang. So in Australia, anytime they come out with a Mustang, it's just known as the Falcon.
Yeah.
Because that's what Australians know as the cool Ford muscle car.
Yeah, the Interceptor from Mad Max is a Ford XB Falcon, which is basically a Mustang, but for the Australian roads. Which I know there's difference in Australian cars and American cars.
It's like bigger gas tank and more like plating underneath and stuff.
Yeah, it's something like that. So I know they have to go longer ranges. They don't make Fords in Australia anymore.
No.
They killed that whole division. And their own countryman, Jack Nasser, did it. Because he was Australian, even though he was like, well, his parents were from Lebanon. But yeah, he didn't like he didn't like the ollies, as he called them. Like, who are these ollies? He was saying hourly, but with an Australian accent. Because in Australia, I think, what did those guys make? It was something per pot. They made a lot of money over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they killed it all and moved it to Singapore or Thailand or wherever. Then they sell it back. They used to have Vauxhall. That was General Motors of Australia.
Huh.
But now that's dead. Just like Opel, that was General Motors of Germany. That's dead. I don't know. Somehow we got the Lost Bullet.
Well, this is a very car porny movie, so we're just getting into cars. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, like he builds them these like awesome cars to a point where you can just make a head-on collision at like 100 miles an hour, and the guys just get out like nothing happened.
Yeah, all the robbers are dead. Like they just front-ended, crashed into these guys at high velocity. Of course, they did it because the guy was shooting a machine gun or something out the back window at the
Yeah.
And yeah, but they
Yeah, I like how they don't call them drivers; they call them pilots.
yeah. I don't know if that was something lost in translation or some aesthetic for the movie. It's kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He's like, I want the best cars and the best pilots.
Yeah, but basically, you essentially weld together some kind of homemade cow catcher, and your car is, it never takes damage. It's ready to go.
Well, he says something. He makes some like weird throwaway line about mass dampeners or whatever. Like the car's built to basically direct all the force away from the people inside the car, but you're still colliding at a car. It's outrageous. I'm just walking out like nothing happened.
Hey guys, what's going on? Yeah, but it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
They hit their turbo blaster, the robbers, in their BMW station wagon. And it blew the engine. It's like, well, the chase is over now, but they're shooting at the lady and she's got to drive. And then all of a sudden, the BMW just flattens into this other car. It's like, and the two cops get out, like, yeah, we made it. What's up?
And do they? And I think they just drive that car back to the station to be rebuilt, right?
Yeah, they pretty much pull it in, and everyone's kind of mad.
Yeah, like none of the cops like have respect for the what's the main guy's name? The guy, the builder guy, the mechanic. It's like Lino or something. Was it?
Yeah, Dino.
Dino. Okay. Yeah. So like nobody has any respect for him because he's a criminal, but
Right.
he builds all this awesome stuff.
Except for Shiraz, his boss, the guy who's in charge of the flying squad or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to get him paroled early so he can keep building these cars because this is ostensibly to stop heroin smuggling.
Yeah.
Never really that comes up and they find bags of heroin and it just kind of the same bag is used throughout the movie with the same heroin. Like, okay, because half the cops are corrupt.
Yeah.
Like Areski and what's the other guy's name? Quentin. Those are the bad cops. I mean, the really bad cops that just like shotgun people to death, shoot their boss through the back.
Which was surprising because you figure like, hey, where's this movie gonna go? And it's like, oh, it's gonna be about them catching these drug dealers, and it just immediately becomes bad cop shoots good cop. The rest of the movie is a weird investigation and this guy on the run. So
Yeah, and the criminals are really because you got the guy like the people at the chop shop where the guy's it wasn't his brother, but they grew up in orphanages together.
yeah,
And like the guy, the Lino has a friend who's also modifying cars, and he recognizes how he's doing it, and or Shiraz does, and he tells him it's like, hey, we got to.
yeah, because like their turbo switch thing was the same thing he put in his car at the beginning of the movie, so that's where he recognized it, and so he was like, and he knew that his brother. His brother got away, so he knew like, oh, your brother's working on something. So
Yeah. So then they go find these weird criminals that are running this drug smuggling ring, and his brother's there, and it's an old dude with a bunch of scars and like a fake wooden hand, like the old guy, and then you got the young guy who looks like a Russian mobster guy, just dressed in like workout clothes, and then you got the two crooked cops, and yeah, so yeah, one of the most likable character after Lino, his boss, who's trying to do nice stuff for him. He gets shot like in the back. And then this guy's trying to run. The reason it's called the Lost Bullet is because he shoots into his boss's car, which is one of those special Renault turbos from the 80s. It's like a collector's item. And the bullet's lodged in the car somewhere. And so they're supposed to take the car and burn it and burn his boss up in it. He's not supposed to do it, but the other criminals are supposed to do it. And then they keep the car as leverage over the crooked cops. Apparently. I'm guessing that was the thinking. And then, yeah, it's just a chase movie. It had an interesting police station fight.
yeah,
Almost seemed reminiscent of like Old Boy. It's like, how many people can I?
yeah. That's it. It's like because they never really built up. Like, is this guy some MMA specialist? Because there's that part where like he's in the beginning when he's in the prison, where like he doesn't fight any of those guys. He like undoes a bolt to get one over them because he's kind of like this MacGyver-esque guy, and he does like use his environment to his advantage, but still he like fought off like 16 people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the actor did it or if his stuntman did it, but man, that stunt lady they have, like, they throw her the fuck around.
That lady got the shit beat out of her. She was the most aggressive of all the cops. She kept doing stuff to him. So finally he just picked her up and threw her across, like she bounced off a table and hit the floor. Like, ooh, that looks uncomfortable. Unless they did that in such a way where there was a fall mat and then they filmed her dropping on
Yeah, probably, yeah. There's probably a mat on the table that was built to look like a solid table, and then there's probably another mat which falls off the table. You shoot it at the right angle.
But
Either that or they went, fuck it, and like threw her on a fucking table.
Yeah, it looked pretty nasty. And he was using laptop computers as melee weapons.
Yeah.
And I liked when he punched people, because what he do is he get real close and just start throwing blows at him, like very short stroke punches. Because then he would try to grab shit and hit him with it also. It was kind of a cool fight, but it's like there's 3 points in the fight where there's no fucking way they got him. There's like 6 people holding him down, and then he always manages to get out of it.
Yeah. And there's like this little section where like he leaves the fight and goes into another room, and nobody has any idea what's going on. And like, and like in some ways, like I guess that could happen, but in other ways, like, there's no way nobody heard that shit going on. Or maybe it's a police station, so it's like, somebody's always yelling and fighting somebody.
Yeah, I got the feeling like this was a real low rent part of France. They were in. It's like, oh yeah, this is how people behave.
And also, I just don't know like anything about like the French like police system, because it seems like almost like, to me, it's like, are they basing this off of like American police movies and like this is how it is in America, and they're just gonna like Americans like this kind of action in police movies, or if it's based on how their judicial system works at all?
Based on things I've read, there is a lot of violent crime in France because they have a huge kind of mobile immigrant population, and there's also a lot of money in France. And there's a lot. They have like the wild robberies there, where the people will rob like the Rolex store and they'll steal $20 million worth of stuff, but they did it with dynamite. Like they blow the front windows out. And it's crazy shit like that. So yeah, there's a lot of violent crime in France. I think all the French police are like our police. Like they're all armed. It's not like England where it's like someone's got a gun. We got to get guys in here in helicopters because we just have these nightsticks. No, France, they just, matter of fact, France, I think they use 10mm handguns because they want something that will positively stop people. So yeah, there is a lot of violent crime in France, depending on where you're. I mean, not like the tourist areas where people like us would go, but I think in kind of the hinterlands or wherever they were. Because they seem to be in a place that sort of bordered.
Yeah, did they name a city at all, or is it just kind of vague?
But I got the vibe. There was like seemed to be a lot of. There was one of the guys was a Moroccan actor, and so I kind of got the vibe like, oh, it was filmed to be kind of like where in southern France.
Okay.
Where they made up with Central Europe, and but yeah, nope, they have crazy violent crime there.
Well, doesn't every country?
France is like notable for being like kind of American-like. I mean, we've made movies about like what was it, the French Connection. Is like the guy actually goes to France and beats the shit out of people. It was the sequel, and it wasn't as good as the first one. But yeah, Popeye Doyle goes to France and fights heroin dealers. That's when France was like the world's distribution hub for heroin to Europe and America.
I mean, I guess France is the only other country where somebody was killed for somebody not wanting to wear a mask. So technically,
I mean, look at what happened at that satire magazine.
Oh yeah, Charlie Hebdo.
He came in with full-on machine guns and just gunned a bunch of cartoonists down,
and they set the lobby on fire too, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was a nationwide manhunt, and they shot these guys to pieces, and yeah, so yeah, they have that there. I mean, you just don't think of like England. You don't think of as there's violence there, but it's not like kind of American style violence. Germany, they have some stuff. I mean, everyone's got something. There's always criminals in every country, but yeah, France has always struck me as being like vaguely similar to us in some ways because it's a big spread out country with kind of a mobile population, and yeah, they have crazy cars.
Well, I mean, oh sorry,
they don't. What we have here that makes us exceptional is like the person-to-person violence with guns is really, really high here. But all our other crime is kind of the same. It's just the inner city like violent gun crime is way off the charts here compared to anywhere else. But in terms of being like robbed and stuff, it's beat up. It's like it's about the same, other countries. I mean, there's parts of Canada you wouldn't want to mess around. Guys will just beat the shit out of you there too. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you want to go to the National Museum, you're fine. If you want to go look for hookers and heroin, yeah, you're probably. But that would happen in any country.
But no, my impression of the movie was really nice, legit. I didn't know what to expect because I did watch the trailer and thought maybe there might be some CGI assistance, and maybe there was because not everything turns out perfectly when you shoot physical action scenes with practical props. That's it. So yeah, really good chase action scenes and very good. Just it's definitely the French version of Fast and Furious. So I mean, I don't know if they gonna do a follow up for this movie or do they? I mean,
no idea. So
I don't know.
I didn't look up any of the Internet Movie Database like the production team or anything, but hopefully it's successful for them. But yeah, it Yeah, I just kind of saw the trailer for it out of nowhere, and then like it's like that looks cool. Hopefully it is. Then like it was way cooler than I thought it was going to be because I thought it was going to be kind of like hindered in some way. But this seemed like a AAA action movie in most respects. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good foreign film, and I mean, there's definitely a lot of dedicated people with it, and I don't know how long it took them to make and all that stuff, but I mean, it seemed like it had pretty good funding for. Definitely wasn't like a high budget movie, but
well, like I said, like the arts in France get there's like subsidized. So if this is like a Netflix France co-production, they probably found a lot of money to put behind it. And
Or they got the cars for free based
yeah,
on
yeah.
who they were and stuff. Do whatever you want to with them. They're just.
I mean, yeah, being like how much they like how like they praise these cars. Like I'm pretty sure somebody's gonna watch this movie and then be like looking to like, hey, can I get that Renault SL2 or whatever?
yeah, I guess I looked it up because I guess Renaults were sold in the U.S. until like the mid '70s when basically no one thought they wanted them anymore because they didn't make anything besides compact cars that Americans didn't want. So I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing again, since obviously people are now. I mean, Americans definitely aren't trending to smaller, more efficient cars, but but at some point we might have to.
Well, it's the thing with a lot of cars now, because you're seeing a lot of this in Europe too. Is you're getting a lot of those like SUV type cars that like they get the same fuel efficiency as a compact car, but they're, that's what they're doing, because it's like Ford getting rid of their sedans and GM getting rid of their sedans and stuff. It's like they're not just, they still have to meet like a broad industry regulation of fuel economy fleet wide. So like, they're smaller SUVs and stuff. They get pretty good mileage. And
Well, also a lot of those like really small European cars that get good gas mileage would never meet the safety standards in America
Yeah,
because like yeah, we could have those cars that get like almost 100 miles to a gallon with 3 wheels, but it's America. We'd have like 100,000 fatalities, and I mean like, right now we have like 40,000 a year in car fatalities. So it would be
and it's at an all-time low.
we need to get it up again. Hashtag Make America Dead Again.
Oh, they will. They will. Believe me. But based on what I'm seeing, they will. Because I remember my drive home for like 3 or 4 months was pretty peaceful. It's like, oh, this is nice. Now it's just splatter zone again. It's like I'm driving along. It's like, oh, are they having a protest? Are people blocking the road? Oh no, it's just a bunch of cars smashed together. Let's get over behind this semi. Use his weight to push through it. But, yeah.
No, they had a. I don't think it's.
They make there's a whole class of Mercedes called A class that you've never seen. They're just super compact Mercedes-Benz cars that get like 75 miles to the gallon. But you can't sell them here because they literally, I mean, the kind of fatalities you'd have would be incredible. And I remember my uncle was telling me when he was in England for all those years, like, his cars were expensive there, and not a lot of people had them. And when people went on trips, you'd try to get like 6 people into, the smallest car you could have. And when they'd get in accidents on the freeway, it'd be like, oh, yeah, there was a 2-vehicle pileup with 24 deaths. It's like, what? Because everyone was just packed into those cars, and they drive as fast as they can, too. So, yeah, everyone's a motorsport guy in Europe when they get behind the wheel of the tiniest cars.
No, I kind of got Transporter vibes from it occasionally, too. I mean, not the same type of story and stuff like that, but yeah, that movie.
This movie's a bit more serious than Transporter.
Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of not serious though, because obviously he takes on a lot of people and never really gets knocked out, even though he's outnumbered and takes the beating and just doesn't seem to like want to go down, I guess.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, it's just a good escape movie, and I don't have a problem with it. So it's better, way better than last week's movie. Put it that way.
It was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. I mean, any of those car movies I'm always interested in cars and cars from other lands, and it's like, what are they doing? Oh yeah, basically the same shit. Smaller cars. I did like that big Mercedes that they built the crash cage inside it. That the bad guy was driving in the last chase.
Oh yeah.
Because remember, he had the cow catcher that ripped the axle out of the other car, and so the guy, the main bad guy, Yeah, the main bad guy, Areski, was driving that. Oh, those are those big old Mercedes.
Oh, like those MLGKs or whatever.
It wasn't one of those. It was like the W87s. It was more like a sleek SUV. It
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
a vehicle, but he had a roll cage built into it and stuff. And it's like, oh yeah, he has a big. Those have big V8 engines. Like he's gonna beat the shit out of that little Renault with that big giant Mercedes. I like how he threw the grenade in the trunk and it went off. I guess that was an incendiary grenade because I was like, he's throwing it in the trunk awful close. Those guys are both going to die. And then the car catches on fire. So I am surprised that bullet that was lost managed to make it in that car through all the crashes and fires and everything. It's like they still extracted it. And the rear windshield just had the original bullet hole in it. It never cracked or dislodged. It's like, that's an amazing car. It's a very stout car if it could do all that.
Yeah,
It does.
Lost
Maybe I'll-
Bullet. Catch it. We recommend it. It's one of the better Netflix movies we've seen.
Yeah.
I think there's been. I mean, I wouldn't say there's been like a lot of great content, but there's been a lot of decent watchable content too. So I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like, there's only been a couple that were like, I'd say outright terrible. There's just a lot of like middling things, and then a few gems here and there.
yeah, just
I watched The Wandering Earth last night.
Which one's that?
Well, it's a Chinese one. It's on Netflix. But remember those novels I liked that guy wrote, the Xu Li, or however you say his name, The Three Body Problem?
Yeah.
Well, he wrote the story for this, or the screenplay or whatever, and it's kind of weird. It's like a super movie, like a Michael Bay movie, but from China.
Yeah.
And the only reason I even heard about it is I was looking on one of my model websites, and this company Ming Models, they made the Bulldozer, make really good models. They had like all the models from The Wandering Earth, like all the big trucks and vehicles. I was like, oh, I've seen that on Netflix. I've never watched it, but I've passed over it, so I decided to watch it last night. It's kind of weird. It's like, you know, the sun is expanding for some unknown reason, so they just put a bunch of engines on one side of the planet, like giant Earth engines. Well, it's called The Wandering Earth because they're just moving the Earth away, and everyone lives underground, of course, because it's freezing cold. I mean, it was like a 3-hour movie, and it was just an homage to like Michael Bay movies. It was that crazy, big action, over the top stuff. And it was all right. It was different. I was not expecting it. So.
well, because I watched Lockout again this week, and goddamn, that movie's horrible.
Is that the one with?
It's the goddamn it, Guy Pearce.
President?
I can't. Yeah, it's President in Space. It's the one that got sued the shit out of for basically ripping off other movies. Because even in the beginning of the credits, it was like Luc Besson's original idea, and it was like not so much because the CGI looks fucking horrible in the goddamn movie. It's fucking atrocious.
I remember it was fun at the time, but that was like 10 years ago. So.
It still had some decent quips and stuff like that. I think maybe if you like put that character in a different movie with way better action and CGI scenes, it might actually play off better. But unfortunately, it seemed really low budget, which I don't know how big the budget actually was, but it didn't seem.
I think it was pretty low. I think it was like 20 million or something like that. Because it's not like Guy Pearce is like a big draw. You don't have to pay him a whole lot of money to be in a movie.
No, but I mean, yeah.
Like that movie is mostly built on like, hey, it's a new Luc Besson movie, and it's basically Die Hard in a prison in space, and I think he got sued by John Carpenter.
Yep.
For being Escape from New York, ripping off Escape from New York, which he won because where he sued him in France, so which is a lot more like it's more probable that you'll actually get money if you sue people in France.
But how much money will you get?
I don't know. He got money out of it, but yeah. Okay. And he only sued him because like Luc Besson did an interview where he said like, yeah, it's like Escape from New York, and he's like, well, fuck you.
Where's my piece of that act?
Because like under the same it seemed like he just hated Luc Besson because like Hideo Kojima has like openly like stolen things. Like, you know, it's like he calls his character Snake, obviously after Snake Plissken from Escape from New York, and John Carpenter doesn't sue him because he likes Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, yeah. There's probably a bit of that too. It's like the name scheme with Hideo Kojima might not be wholly original, but the stuff he's coming up with is so wild. It's like, this is kind of cool. He's not really like, he just seems like a fun guy.
No, but that probably my worst movie I watched this week. I don't know who I thought it was good the first time because I actually owned it. I just watched it on Netflix because I was like, oh, I forgot about.
I
this
just went to the theater to see it because I remember like at the time it had like a little buzz. Like, here's out of nowhere cool action movie, and that's the only time I've ever seen it. I never like went back to it.
Well, like the opening and beginning CGI because it's supposed to be like a futuristic, like drawn like dark apocalyptic city. It looks like the kind of budget CGI you get like a photo booth.
Yeah, I remember that looking like trash. You could like the movie sort of looked like a real movie when they get to the space prison. So
Yeah. So I mean, it was very bad in those parts, but other than that, like I wouldn't say the plot was like the greatest either, but it actually.
I mean, it's a Luc Besson movie, so.
So, but at the same time, yeah. Otherwise, like watch the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade this week as well, just to watch that again, just because I've seen Indiana Jones movie for a while, and so that's pretty much. I guess I still don't get why everybody loves that movie because I hate that fucking movie so much.
Well, Last Crusade.
Yeah, I don't think it's that good of a movie. It has a lot of good funny parts in it, but I wouldn't say it's like.
I just think it's a really fun movie. It doesn't necessarily make sense. It's just kind of a fun movie.
Plus, I guess I didn't know till like last week that technically the first movie is the last movie in the trilogy, the second movie is the second movie, and the third movie is the first movie. So, as much as that makes sense, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
Temple of Doom takes place before all of them.
Oh, okay.
That's really the timeline.
Oh, that's the timeline? Okay. I was explained differently, I guess.
Yeah, it's like technically Temple of Doom is a prequel, and I forget all of that because that's like I forget why they did that way, but yeah, it's my Temple of Doom is probably my least favorite. Well, I guess everybody hates Crystal Skull, but like of the ones that people actually that's always my least favorite. I'd always prefer to watch Raiders or Last Crusade over Temple of Doom.
I like the first and second one way better than the third one. So I don't know. It's just like I don't think Sean Connery is bad in that movie, but I don't really like. I think their dynamics fine. I just don't like Sean Connery that much. So maybe that's why I don't.
I mean, he's in most of the movie, so that'd probably be it.
But no, I mean, other than that, like it doesn't have bad material. It's just watching it again. Like, yeah, I wouldn't say it's a bad movie, but it's not my favorite Indiana Jones movie. I mean, it probably just because also it goes again with a Christian theme relic that it's going after. And not that, I mean, we're in the Western world and that's a lot of Christianity, so it makes sense. But I don't know. It'd be nice to go after something a little bit different than something that was already treaded in the first movie, I guess.
Yeah, well, when in Europe.
Yeah.
When dealing with Nazis, you're going to go after Christian artifacts.
Why can't we go after Jewish artifacts? Oh, damn it.
Well,
you do in Wolfenstein.
Well, on Raiders of the Lost Ark, you are too. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that okay? I thought that was more of a Christian. I don't know religion very well. So,
well, basically, Christianity, the Old Testament is essentially like that's the Jewish, that's the Jewish prehistory of the Bible.
The Talmud is essentially the Old Testament.
Torah.
What's the Talmud? Oh shit.
That's another. I don't know.
Anyways, continue.
Yeah, so that's it's the New Testament is when it really breaks from when it becomes a like Christian, like the prophecy of Christ and all that. That's when all the and it was a religion of the Middle East for a long time until it came to Europe, because when Jesus was going on, all our ancestors were painting themselves blue and killing each other for like snake gods and stuff, and that's what was going on in Europe until Christianity came and brought sanity. It's like, whoa, how fucked up was it before? All right.
But yeah, wasn't the Ark of the Covenant supposed to be like holding the Ten Commandments?
Yes, the 10 Commandments that were given to Moses. then for some reason, if the army carries it, they can never lose. I always wondered why they didn't do a Spear of Destiny Indiana Jones, because that was actually like a thing that was like even discussed at the time of World War II. It's like, you know, the Germans have this, and I think Patton's army recovered it,
Yeah.
some museum or something. I don't know how much that's true, but they should have done a Indiana Jones and the Spear of Destiny.
There's a Wolfenstein game. I think it's literally called Spear of Destiny.
Yeah,
I think it's Wolfenstein 3 Spear of Destiny or something like that.
Yeah, that was a real thing. I mean, all the Wolfenstein things are based on stuff that actually happened, the original ones. That was all real.
Mecha Hitler.
Yep.
Well, anyway, is there any leaks from the new Indiana Jones movie? What they're going for, I guess, with this one? Or
I didn't even know they were making a new one.
Yeah, I know they're in pre-production, but I didn't know they started filming or anything.
well, because I know the Uncharted movie started filming last week, so I didn't know if they.
Oh yeah, I got the final cast on that. So both Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland are in it, and Mark Wahlberg is Sully.
Oh, god damn it! Fuck Mark Wahlberg. He doesn't need to be in that fucking movie. He's not a good Sully or a good Nathan Drake. Fuck him. He's not smart enough and likable enough to be Sully.
Well,
and he's
at
not.
least he's a side character, so
Yeah, but I mean-
Tom Holland's good. So
Yeah, no, I like that part of the casting. I think that's actually practical and a good cast. But I think they just had like, oh, Mark Wahlberg still wants to be in this, so we'll just cast him as whatever the fuck works. And so I just like, are they going to put him in like a bunch of fucking old man makeup and give him a cigar and tell him to act like the video game character? Or is he just going to be Mark Wahlberg?
probably just be
During-
Mark Wahlberg. maybe he'll work out slightly less.
It's like I didn't know Sully had a Boston accent.
And HBO's working on a Last of Us series.
Yeah, I heard that, and I didn't know if I should be excited for that or not. To be honest,
Probably not, but well, whatever.
I mean, I guess I don't know what they're.
I mean, if there's any like prestigious video game fiction that's gonna be turned into a movie, that's probably the one that will be like well received more than likely compared to what other video game adaptations. But we'll see.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't know if they were gonna try and like, I don't know, do like a prequel thing and like cover what Joel was doing basically before he met Ellie or something, or what if they're just gonna cover the ground of the video game.
I feel like they're just gonna do the first movie, but like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see if they'll change. They'll make something completely different. It's like, yeah, I like this, and like that's what we're gonna make. And it's like, well, that's like 10% of what The Last of Us is. you got Joel and Ellie, and that's all you liked about The Last of Us. And the whole plot will be completely different.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I hope HBO doesn't fuck that up, but they might. So
I mean, they usually don't fuck up things, but we'll see.
Yeah, they got a pretty good team. I was still really disappointed when, because I remember they said that those books that I liked, what was it, the Justin Cronin series? Hold on, let me look it up. Everyone, hang on, this is about to get good. If my computer works. Is it not going to work?
What'd you say?
The Passage
Oh.
trilogy. And I was like, oh, that's being adapted into a TV series. And I was like hoping it was going to be like HBO or Showtime or something. It was Fox. It was considered like one of the worst series they've ever done. It's like, yeah, that was waste of great source material. Got fucked away on that.
but now Disney owns the rights probably, so maybe they'll.
Well, they made it into it was a made-for-TV like series. It's like that was a really weird choice because those books are very dark and bleak and apocalyptic and hopeless. And it's like, how are they gonna do that on a made-for-TV basis? But yeah, it's just like, oh, this is how they're gonna do it. And it sucks.
I remember there was a time when like Quentin Tarantino was gonna like work on the Gap cycle with HBO, and then that never happened.
Yeah, because the one guy who owns the right to that, Rodriguez.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Somebody owns the rights to that. Well, we know why they're not going to make the Gap cycle. No way to. That's never going to fly.
Unless you just extract all the rape, which is like, you know.
which is the main arc of the one character, her, which is weird and horrifying, but also in the end of the story, it works out. Is like all the people that got taken advantage of and screwed over end up, you know, winning. But it's a horrible journey to get there.
Yeah, yeah.
Isn't the new Dune project coming along, or is that still in pre-production?
No, it's being filmed, or
Yeah. It
so,
was.
or it's in post production. I don't know, but yeah, it's as far as I know, it's mostly completed.
Okay.
Just who the fuck knows when it'll come out?
Yeah.
Well, because I know Disney said Mulan wasn't coming out anymore, which I'm fine with, and they're pushing back Avatar and fucking something else.
Tenet's like pretty much never going to be released.
Maverick got pushed to next year.
Of course, I heard something interesting about like a reason why Tenet's not going to be released till like theaters, till like people are back in the theaters, is because like something like Christopher Nolan owns like 10% of the gross, but it's like the theater gross. So if they don't release it in theaters, he doesn't get any money.
Yeah, that'll suck.
But it's, you know, it's not like he doesn't already have tons of money or projects lined up along the way. But whatever.
Well, I kind of wondered this week. I mean, how long is too long when it comes to delaying movies indefinitely? How long can they hold on to all this stuff without releasing it all at once and ruining their box office chances without just releasing some of the stuff on direct demand and charging 20?
Well, I mean, I don't know how much this is like affecting like productions now. So if they can hold on to it, if they don't hold on to it, at some point there's just gonna be a dry spell where there's just gonna be no movies have been made. So they can hold on to this until it's like they start making movies again, and then just release this stuff that they've already made. So there's like kind of like no gap. Like this is the gap. This is the production gap that we're living in right now.
Yeah, because I know there's not a lot of new content being made necessarily right now, but at the same time, I don't know how much backlog there was compared to how much time they had to fill, I guess, later
I
on.
mean, like what Black Widow was supposed to be released in like March,
Yeah, April, I think, yeah.
and like there's still no plans for releasing that. I mean, people say like, oh, that's going to be released on Disney Plus, but like nobody's like no really big movie has pulled that yet, except for like that Onward movie, that Pixar movie. That's probably the biggest movie that just like, all right, we're just releasing it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Mulan will necessarily mean anything because I don't know if people were still holding on to the whole boycott it because of the actress involved in it thing or not. So,
Does anyone see the trailer for that David Cronenberg's Sons movie,
No,
no.
Possessor?
I
it
saw.
looks kind of interesting.
Is he following in the footsteps of his father? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah,
lots of body horror and
Oh yeah, it came out at Sundance this year, but it's not. I don't know when it's going to come out. Doesn't look like it's.
Did somebody pick it up?
Yeah.
Who picked it up?
Neon and Wellgo Entertainment.
Oh, no idea.
Yeah, well, it's a U.S., Canada, Great Britain.
Oh, okay. Are they planning to release it anytime soon?
They just started rolling the trailer this week.
Huh.
It's because they finished it in April, or they started in April 2019 filming it, and then it's got really high ratings at Sundance and other places. So yeah, it's an interesting trailer. You should watch it. But it's got, I mean, the main actors are kind of like they're just like unknown British actors, and Donald Sutherland's kid's in it. Then you have Jennifer Jason Leigh and Sean Bean are in it, but I don't know for how long. Sean Bean's gonna die.
What do you mean, Donald Sutherland kid? You mean Kiefer Sutherland or another kid of his?
Rossif Sutherland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've never heard of him. Is he
He's
older or younger than Kiefer?
Let's see, when was he born? In 70. He's 41.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think he's been like he's played like supporting characters
Yeah.
in a lot of things, but
He's the Frank Stallone of the Sutherland family.
Yeah. but they yeah, it was kind of an interesting trailer. a teaser, so it doesn't reveal much. But yeah, when I was reading the reviews, it's like, much like his father, Brandon explores the human body in uncomfortable ways. And it looks like there's a bunch of weird shit going on in it. So yeah.
I can't remember. Is David Cronenberg still alive?
I think so. He's probably in his 80s at this point. Yeah, he's 77.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what the last David Cronenberg movie I saw was.
A History of
Probably
Violence. Did
Eastern
he do
Pro-
Eastern Promises?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. He didn't write them. He just directed.
Yeah.
History of Violence and Eastern Promises. He directed. And then he had a Dangerous Method. And he did Cosmopolis too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That weird one in a car.
yeah. It's an interesting movie.
And Maps to the Stars. I don't remember that one. But yeah,
Sounds familiar, but
yeah.
But I'm gonna call it because I need to go to bed.
All right, me too.
so-
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
this is Colin.